Hey, my name is Prasad Thamineni. I like to call myself the Chief Agent Man. I'm the founder and CEO of Agentman. We built this product over the last year plus through much feedback from our community of AI practitioners as well as others as well. And you are the third class that we've been running. In November, we ran a class of 55. In early January, after we launched, we had a class of 15. We wanted to, with every generation or every class that the class material is getting better, the product is getting better, and so on. So the people that took the class in January saw a much better product than the people who saw it in November. November was extremely hard. Only a third of the people built an agent, but most people built an agent in January, and you will be one of those today. Okay. With that, let's jump in. What's in the agenda? Quick intro, our background, and how we came here, and then understanding of AI agents. I will skip some of the earlier material, assuming you have read that material. Even if you have not read, you probably have read about agents in the popular press. That should be enough. Then we'll jump into prompt engineering for agents. And you will see there are differences there in terms of how is it different from regular prompt engineering that you use daily in ChatGPT versus for agents. All along, you were doing hands-on exercises through this process. And then towards the end, it'll be mostly slideware showing some of the advanced topics. And we talk about also end the class by sharing what is coming in Agentman. Okay. So just to give you a quick summary on what Agentman is, we are pioneering the first app store for AI agents. A year from now, there'll probably be 1 million agents out there deployed. And we want to be that app store for AI agents where people can buy, build, and sell. And we hope one of you will be building and selling those agents on this platform that work with 7,000 plus apps. We offer two different approaches. One is we have pre-built agents for e-commerce, specifically for Shopify. We have a few clients that we're working with, building all these agents, and at some point, we will make these agents available to any e-commerce store. The second category is for people like you who want to build your own agents. This is where you sign up for the Agentman, Agent Builder, build your own agents, etc. And this class is designed for the second persona. Okay. A little bit of my background. I'm a serial entrepreneur, a product and engineering exec for about 25 plus years. I've built many companies. And I've been doing agent building for about 2+ years. First at Atlassian, about 2 years ago, we built the first Copilot a little over 2 years ago. And then at Rappi, which is the largest delivery unicorn, where we built agents for customer support at scale. That's where I really got to understand that building agents using programming languages like Python or React is not very efficient. It only takes much longer, the more complex and diverse your workflows. And language models are in a lot more suitable for building agents in no code. And that's where we started to experiment with no code agent building language. We invented a new language, and that's became the foundation for Agentman. That's where I met my co-founder. He was head of generative AI engineering at Rappi. And he and I started building this full time about May of last year, say April of last year. And by June, we had a finished product. We didn't launch it because we were early to the market. Most people didn't believe you could build agents, advanced agents in no code. They thought they have to write Python for it. So I spent about 4 months at Salesforce running their frontier AI team, building AI stuff that was coming after agents, right? So agent version 2, version 3, and so on. And when world started to take no-code agent builder seriously, I left Salesforce to focus and build out Agentman. Okay. You have, let me go to the drive folder so that you have access to it. I shared a link For those who joined later, you may not be seeing those links. So I'm going to reshare those again. Um, okay, so here is the Google Drive. In this Google Drive, you will see the workshop material here. Okay. So at any point in time, if you missed a slide and I moved on to a different slide, you can go back and open it. Also, you will find the link to the survey form after this. This is really helpful. Please give us feedback because our goal is to educate everybody in the world to be an agent builder. Right now, obviously not every 3 billion people, but at least if we can get to a few million, that's we have achieved our mission because we are on a mission to democratize agent building. Okay. If you have any critical feedback, email me directly. That's my email address right there. And if you love the workshop, please share it on LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever place that you want to be, and recommend our product. So the other thing that you'll see here, I think the first one you want to open is the README file. This is the pre-reading material I asked you to read. In here is also the link to register. If you've not registered, go ahead and register for the product. It will take you literally 30 seconds to make that happen. And then we're going to use these material in this here and README as exercise material. Okay. And you will see at various times I'll call out, and then you will use this to get you a jump start. Okay. So that's the contents of the workshop folder. So let's quickly look at what are AI agents. Okay. Lorenzo.
Yeah. Quick question. Sorry to interrupt. Thought it was
No, no.
better before you started.
Yeah.
Um, um, how do we get after the workshop like the certification?
Sure. Yeah, we don't have a official certificate, but I'm glad if you asked. We'll create one, make it happen, and send out.
Yeah, that
Uh,
would be great.
no, definitely. That's a good idea. We will. It's on our plans. We just didn't have the time to, quote unquote, create one. But thanks for asking.
We
Uh,
appreciate it. Thanks.
any other questions before getting started? Okay, so obviously it's an open classroom. Anybody can raise your hand, speak, etc. So anybody's going to volunteer an answer for this? Go ahead and raise your hand, and if not, I'll just have to call out people. All right, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I'm kind of the daredevil kind. I like to to be on the scene. Um, AI agents are autonomous programs that can take actions on online or on your computer, act independently uh, based on information or instruction that we gave them, and that do so with the capability of AIs, as distinct from a pure algorithm that just spits out a result based on an input. That's how I would say it.
Cool, awesome. That's a great explanation. A technical one, which is what I would probably have said. But is there anybody here who can translate that into simpler language? Nitesh.
So, hi everyone. So, as from my understanding of agent is like a microservice that we usually used to build, and so microservice is trained only for one and only one task, and so there's one master who decides what should I pass to the web service, and web service does that work. So
Got
that
it.
web service is already trained for that. So that's, I guess, that's an agent in AI world.
Yeah. And both of you, right? So agents, or think of it as the word agent means they have the agency to accomplish a collection of things or tasks. And to accomplish those tasks, they have to take actions, get information, etc. Okay. And now, back in the day, before we had AI agents, you would basically have these software, which will only do things that have been scripted to do. Like do A, do B, do C, and done. Right? Just when you, let's say, you use Instagram, you upload a picture, you say, "Can you, make this sapphire?" Right? So that is you can't think of as an agent. It's an algorithm that goes and makes the photograph better, right? So in some format. So that is not really an agent. That is more an algorithm, like Lorenzo said. An agent, on the other hand, can say, "Hey, this is a picture. How would you improve it?" When you ask an agent, that agent will then go study the picture, will come back and say, "This picture can be improved by removing this background, can be done with this, etc." And then say, "Do you want me to improve this picture for you?" I said, "Sure, go ahead and improve it." Right now, that agent is now able to go look at some data that's given to them, understand what that picture is, and make those changes. Now, the pictures will change every time. It's a different pictures, and the way it will react will be very different, right? So that means now this agent is able to kind of think and reason and take action. Okay? So that's the intuition between back in the day, how Instagram would, let's see, how do you clean up pictures, versus now you can literally ask an agent to go fix your pictures for you, and it'll do that work for you. Rajesh.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'll just speak out my interpretation of it.
Sure.
I would say it's like a intelligent assistant, a personal assistant. You ask something to be done, you give the task to that assistant in this space, like the AI agent, and it will achieve that for you. And in case decision making is needed, it will come back, ask you the question, then you answer, okay, go ahead like this, then it does and completes the job.
Yeah, all of it is correct. Right. So are you able to see my screen? Too.
Yes, yes.
Prasad, can I add one more thought here and just see if you agree? An important part of the agents too is they have a memory and they can talk to one another. Like you can chain agents together, correct? Like that's a powerful aspect that you don't necessarily have in the sequential kind of normal coding or algorithm approach, right?
Perfect. So I love it that you have all these answers add up to being an agent, right? So I think there's a purpose built for specific goals, clear objectives. So if you define objectives and purpose, agents tend to behave properly, right? So it's like giving them a task. They could be interactive, right? So you could go back and forth, or they could be like Nitesh said, they could be you go do something for me and come back, right? Like a process. The third is they can think and make decisions. You will see that a little bit. And when you have multiple agents, they can adapt to situation and do different things. And lastly, agents are only as good as the data they're connected to. If you're not connecting to your data, to your applications, that agent means nothing. Right. So in that world, so that means the only agents are, I always say agents only as good as the data that they have access to. Okay. And the actions they can take. Okay. So conceptually, that's what agents are. I think this is a question that a lot of people mix up. They call agents as chatbots. And I wanted to clearly define this, is because the word chatbot became popularized in 2016 with Facebook introducing bots in Messenger, and then taken off from there. You have experienced bots a lot of times on websites. They're extremely mechanical in nature. That means you have to follow a certain step-by-step process to get answers. And if you ask something outside of that step-by-step process, the chatbot is not able to answer. Okay. Whereas agents are quite flexible, and you don't have to follow a path, right? So a good analogy for chatbot is, let's say you call into Comcast, and they say press 1 to do this, press 2 to do this, right? Press 1 for sales, press 2 for support. Once you click press 2 and you go to support, you cannot ask a sales question. You have to actually come back to the top of the tree and then the phone tree and then go to the sales, right? That's what chatbots are. With agents, it doesn't matter where you are within the conversation. You can access any part of the task that they have, the agent can do, okay? So agents can, and it feels like as if you're talking to a human, because humans, you don't really have to, you can go from one topic to another, which are unrelated at the same time. Okay? I'm going to skip a lot of this because this was all the study material. There are 3 categories of agents. At this point, there are functional agents that are built for customer service, sales support, HR. Vertical agents meant for vertical applications such as medical care, finance, manufacturing, right? So they are designed to work within that domain. And the third category is technical agents. These are meant for technical elements such as code generation. You probably hear a lot about this, is where anybody can code now with the help of a code generator. Right, so you can and in 2-3 years from now, you may not need a junior programmer, because a lot of the coding assistants will be so good that you can say, go build a website for me, and they'll build it for you. Okay. And by the way, we use coding assistants all the time at Agentman. 60% of the development we do is also coding assistants. So just to give you some sense. Right? You can also use data processing tasks, systems monitoring, analytics. So that's all technical agents, right? So the Agentman is purpose built for functional agents and vertical agents. Okay, so we don't want you to think that you can go build a code generating agent using Agentman. It's not designed for it. It needs a lot more complexity. This is where you'd go learn Python and write those agents. But for everything else, you should be able to build functional and vertical agents very quickly. Okay. So there are 3 different interaction styles for agents. Conversational agents, you probably have experienced this, where you can go and either speak and there's an agent on the other side which will respond. You've seen demos of this probably, where you can talk and then there's a response. If you use ChatGPT on the phone, there's a voice mode. That's basically a voice agent. You can use on a website, there's a chat agent, and today you'll be building chat conversational agents. The second kind is what are called process agents. These are things that will perform a bunch of processes. A good example is, let's say you have a conversation with an agent. The agent then needs to summarize everything and store it somewhere, right? So then it can kick off another agent to summarize it, classify it, and store it somewhere. So that could be a process agent. The last one is a guardian or ambient agent. Agentman, we are planning to launch this soon. The idea behind a guardian or ambient agent is that this proactively monitors for events that are happening and then takes action, or starts at a certain time during the day and takes action. For instance, we are working on an ambient agent for one of our investors, where every morning they want a summary of all the emails and the summary of the meetings that they get, right? So it wakes up at 8 in the morning, goes through the emails, summarizes all of it, compiles it, sends a message, right? So this is, you get your daily digest, right? So now that's one, right? So a second kind that my pet project is, you're familiar with the Aura Ring, you will see there, think of it as every day you wake up, and the Aura Ring agent will look at your metrics and send you saying, here's this is how much you slept, this is your readiness score, this is what you should be doing. You have 5 meetings today. You're going to meet with your boss. It's a very stressful meeting. Be prepared. Right? So that would be a perfect ambient agent example. Now, if you look at agent building, agents came on about 2 years ago. They were extremely primitive agents, but they gotten sophisticated over time because the technology got better, the language models get better. What we saw is a trend towards people building agents using Python towards building no-code agents, right? So like what we have. In the no-code agent space, there are 4 products that I know of, like, including us, one from Salesforce, Microsoft, and Google, and Agentman. The first 3 work within only their environment. That means you have to use Salesforce's stack or Microsoft stack or a Google stack, right? So we are agnostic, platform agnostic. We can work with anything. There are companies that are selling pre-built agents that you can buy. Crescendo is a good example. They sell you customer service agents that work with customer support, and Salesforce has sales and service agents. And there are those who will build agents for you. There are a number of startups who have raised a lot of money. What they do is they come and build the agents for you. And they target enterprises mostly because enterprises have very complex backend or applications which require a lot of integration work. You will see more and more verticalization of agents. What I mean by that is people are focusing, let's say, on legal and going deep into this workflows and identifying certain workflows so that lawyers can use them to speed up things. Okay, so that's another way to build out agents, is build vertical agents that are specific to a particular vertical but have large enough market that you can sell to many, many people. And these are 4 trends that we are seeing in the in agent ecosystem. Okay, if you have followed SaaS ecosystem in the last 10 years, maybe 15 years ago there were probably 100 SaaS applications. Now there are 7,000. And because these SaaS applications have become extremely specialized or verticalized, that same trend is going to happen in agents as well. Okay, you'll see more and more verticalization and specialization where people will be selling you special agents to do certain things. So you don't have to build things, you just buy one and use it. Okay. This is the evolution of agents. LangChain was one of the first ones to introduce the concept of an agent as early as 2023, in April or March, April 2023. And over time, for the next, I would say 18 months, only you could build agents using code. And the first no-code agent builder was from Google, called Vertex AI Agents. And then we introduced in summer of last year, it was called Chain of Agents. We rebranded to Agentman. And then you saw Microsoft Copilot Studio and Agentforce, etc. So there are, if you want to write code to build agents, there are 100 frameworks now. Okay. The problem with 100 frameworks is that you don't know which one is good. So you'll be spending a lot of time figuring out which one is good for your application, and so on. But you'll be also, there are a couple of leaders like Crew AI and LangChain that you could use. And we are trying to, what we feel is that a year from now, you would be using coding first agentic frameworks only for 1% of use cases. 95 or 99% of use cases, you'll be using a no-code agent builder. Okay, so I'm going to do a demo of an agent, and it's at the stage for the next module. And Lorenzo, you have a question?
I do. I've been trying to build an agent with Agentman, and so I just want to understand the concept of single task. So how complex? Sorry.
Can you hold up for that question? We'll get to that.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So here is a demo shop called skintastic.shop, and in fact, you can go to this site when you have a chance. The common place you will see agents up here is here, but that doesn't mean they have to be here. They could be anywhere on the page. Right? So we're working with a client where we'll have agents sitting here, right? And serving up content, creating content dynamically, or you can ask a question, have conversations with the agent anywhere in the page. So for this demo, we will just work with this particular agent that's sitting here. Now, as I clicked it, it's serving me these options, but I don't have to choose one of these options. I can just ask a free-flowing question. Okay, I'm going to say, what is the order status on 1004? And can you recommend me moisturizers? Now, these are 2 different questions. One is an order status question, and one is a search question. Find me products, right? So this agent will go connect to the store that's this hosted on, get the details for you. And in this case, the agent is saying, hey, can you confirm the email address for it, right? So by the way, the reason it's asking me, is it demo at agentman.ai, is because we are running this particular agent in demo mode. So I said, yes. So what it means is that it'll prompt you with a user order ID and email if you don't have one. So when I do this, yes, it goes to the store, looks up the order status on this store for 1004, pulls up these details and presents it to me. Second thing it also does, it goes and finds moisturizers in this collection of products. Okay. Let's go back to our demo, and you can see here, it's pulled the moisturizers, and oh, for some reason, it didn't bring the order. What about the order status? Right, so it's somehow missed that particular step, so it's going to go pull it up for me. Right, so this is how you would have a conversation with people, right? So, and then I can ask a follow-up question saying, can you recommend me a moisturizer? I am getting old, right? So the 3 products it recommended me were Neutrogena Anti-Age Fighter Anti-Wrinkle Retinol, that is eye armor, eye moisturizer, and third is skin armor, right? These are basically high-end men's skincare products. Right? So this is acting like a consultant, a beauty consultant, or skincare consultant, and recommending me. And it understood what getting old means, right? It said getting old means being wrinkles, etc. So I'm going to find a product for that and found a match for me. I can go on to ask additional questions such as, how do I use it? Now, this particular product on the store has instructions on how to use it. It's going to pull these instructions and come back and explain this to me. Okay. So it says, yeah, you can apply evenly to your face and neck 15 minutes before sun exposure. Okay. So one thing that I always forget is to apply moisturizer on my neck, right? So I'll say, why the neck? I never do it there, right? So this is not a simple question. Now, this is where language models are really good at it, right? So this store doesn't have this information on the site. But language models have been trained that applying moisturizer on neck is a good thing, right? Because they've been trained on world's knowledge, like common sense. So it's relying on that common sense to explain. Okay. Let me finish this part of it, and then I'll answer your question, Daniela. The last thing is that I can say, okay, I would like to return. Let me hold up on this particular part of it. So I can say, this is great. I can go on to ask saying, I would like to return this one, and we'll go and do return policy checking, all those things. Let me do that anyways here. I would like to return my order, right? So I didn't specify which order it is. It's asking me to confirm. I said, yes, that is the one. Now this order was placed on December 11th. And the return policy on this website, if I pull up, is refund. It's a 14-day return policy. Okay, so it's well past 14 days. So it's going to come back and say, look, today is January 30th. It's way past 14 days and you can't return it. I say, okay, I'm all set. Thank you. Okay, so now it's asking me to rate, right? So this is CSAT score. I say, 1, just to piss it off. And says, oh, why? I said, you did not allow, allow me to return it. And if you watch demos, this part is there, right? So what's happening here is that we did 3 things, right? We did order status. We looked up products. We narrowed the products down to 1. We asked follow-up questions, right? On the product, more detailed product information. We asked it to explain why, right? This is where the knowledge comes in, the training comes in. Then we said, hey, can you return this for me, right? So this particular agent is doing 4 different things, right? So in some you'll see some products will say these are 4 agents. We call them 1 agent doing 4 tasks. Okay. Now the definition of a task to Lorenzo is that it could be anything you want it to be. Right. So way I always tell people is that if you're given a project, what do? You start with breaking down the project into smaller parts, and you do each part, right? The same job, right? So if you hire somebody, an intern, a middle schooler, a high schooler, and train them to man your shop, you will teach them 5 things. You say, this is how you do orders status, this is how you do returns, this is how you do product, and that could be a task. And to accomplish this task, you train them to say, these are the 5 steps you take. It doesn't matter which order, but these are the 5 steps. Before you do order status, you always need to get order ID and email, right? That is an instruction. And after that, right, it could be anything. So that's how you think about building a task. So always think logically the way you would build a project and use that to build your tasks. And you'll see that composition. That's how we would build out all these agents today. Okay. So this is a demo. Now, just to give you sense, you will be building some of this today from scratch. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back to material here. Just want to make sure we are on track of time. So yes, Daniel, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was very curious because you mentioned that the agent proposed some moisturizers for men. And what about if you were a girl? Like, how does it know? Is it because you have an account? And if you don't have an account, what would happen? Like, would it ask you, are you looking for moisturizers for men or women, or how does it work?
Totally, right? So that's a really good question. It so happened this store only I set it up, and there was a purpose why I set it up to be the way it is, as a men's product store. Okay, so I mean, women know how to use these products. Men like me don't know how to use moisturizers. I buy in a store shelf. I don't buy a $30 moisturizer, right? So it's a good way to do a demo is to do skincare for men, where people are asking more fundamental questions, and that's where agents tend to do well. Now, to your question, if I had women's products as well here, it would probably ask you. You can ask the agent to say, hey, do you like to recommend men's products or women's products as a follow-up? And they said, yeah, no, ask me for women, then we'll narrowed it down.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's all about anything you can think about, you can ask the agent to do, just like you would teach anybody to say in a store, right? So think about that way. Let me go back to slides here, and okay. So next topic is the important one. Sorry, I keep clicking the wrong button here. It is prompt engineering for agents. So I would like you all to pay attention here, because if you get this, you understand how agents work. Okay. So you have probably used ChatGPT by now, right? Probably use it every day, accomplish a lot of things. You learned how to do prompting. At the beginning, 2 years ago, people would start by saying, you are an expert in this. And they would ask a question and they would answer. You don't do that anymore. You just say, hey, can you create me a marketing LinkedIn post for this? And it'll create it for you. Right? And then you come back and say, can you revise this for me? So that is one way of using traditional prompting, right? So you're basically having interactive conversation to get to a goal, right? So to make this happen. And in order to accomplish that, you may add documents, etc. You probably have seen this in ChatGPT, where if you have these long conversations, it only reflects on the last 2 or 3 messages you send to answer, right? It will probably give you a very different answer than the very first or 2 you got. So you have to literally ask it to go look at a previous message to answer that question. Okay. So the reason is that we call that the context. The context window, that means the longer that conversation is, the window it looks at is really small. Okay. So if it starts to look at a long context window, it takes longer and longer. Just like humans, if they have to go back and think through all the things people have said and answer the next question, they take longer, right? So for that reason, ChatGPT and all these models tend to focus on a narrow window of conversation to answer quickly. Okay, but if you ask it to go back and look at everything, it'll take some time. Okay, so agent prompting is where the agent is designed to do a certain set of tasks, and it behaves similarly, it goes back and forth. And it tends to, because these conversations, if they're limited, they tend to be more accurate because the context window is smaller, right? So they keep the entire context awareness. Now, depending on how you build the agent, you can make it go back and look at all the things that I've said, or maybe 100 messages across. But most people, most conversations, you don't want to do that. It's just too expensive, right? And the expectations from end users are the same. They don't expect the agent to go back and look what they said 5 minutes ago, right? In our context, we did that in the demo. In the demo, when I asked the question, after this, I said, I would like to return the order. It went back and figured out I was referring to this order. Okay, and came back and confirmed saying, do you want to actually process a return for this order? So that's how. But let's say you did 2 order statuses, right? 1004 and 1005. Then it would prompt you which one it is, right? This is called the context window. It's going back and reflecting on the context window. Okay, so now there are a few elements or components of agent prompts, right? So first one is you have to clearly define what you want the agent to do. It's called the goal. When you clearly define at a high level what that goal is, agents tend to behave, right? So here's an example. You are a Shopify assistant designed to assist users with product and order related inquiries, empowering users to smoothly manage their shopping experience. That's a goal statement, right? You can write it any way you want. It doesn't have to be nicely written like this. As long as it conveys the meaning, saying that what it's supposed to do. When you do that explicitly, then the agent will stick to that goal. It won't veer out of the goal. It won't hallucinate. Okay, so that's why goal is really important. The second step is once you have that high-level goal, you have to teach the agent how to accomplish that goal, right? We call them tasks in this world. Some people may call them agents, but we call them tasks because that seems to be a natural way to think about it. What is a task? It's basically a collection of step-by-step procedures where you decide what to do next at each step of it, right? And if something is not available, what to do. And here's an example of a step-by-step procedure. It says if order number provided, verify the order details, provide status update, else request order number. Right? This is what you would, let's say, if you go to return something at Costco, they'll ask you, can you give me a receipt? And then they will go look it up and then come back. If they don't, they'll say, can you give me the receipt again, right? So it's the same idea. Or if you go to Macy's, right? That's the same idea. Is that just like you would do as a human. Now, if you give a goal and if you give a task, there is a possibility that the agent may want to do things that is not supposed to train to do, right? So we call them guardrails. So you want to set guardrails for the agent, saying that, hey, don't do these, and so on. And you will see here that if I come back to my agent here and say, ask a random question. How far is the moon from Earth? Okay. So it says, I'm here to assist with product and order related queries. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I can't help. Now, if you ask the same question of ChatGPT, it will answer. Because no guardrails. The guardrails on ChatGPT are basically don't answer questions around sensitive topics and stuff. Okay. For this, we have set very strict guardrails, right? And you'll see how to set those guardrails, right? So it's important you need to have guardrails. Okay. Well.
So just along those same lines of speaking about guardrails, one of the things I noticed in your demo was you referenced an order number and then the agent prompted you to confirm your email address rather than asking you for your email address.
Yeah.
That was something that just jumped out to me. Is that because it's doing verification through the fact that you're logged in, or is that just a missing guardrail to confirm that?
That's a good question. So we set up this site, skintastic.shop, for people to try out our agents, right? Let's say you came to the site and then you said hello, you don't know what order number to give, right? Or what email address. So we told the agent, if the user doesn't have this information, give them an example, order ID and email. And that's what you're saying. That's what we call it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No, good question. But that won't be considered a God. I mean, you could ask, you will see that when you build out an agent, it will prompt you saying, hey, what is the verification? Should I use email or not? All those things. You can ask the agent to verify these things. And that won't be considered a guardrail, it'll be an instruction. Always ask for email address to verify an order or last name to verify an order. Right? That would be more of an instruction and not a guardrail. Now, the fourth component is what is called tone. This is where you have brand personality. You can say your interaction should be friendly, professional, and so on. Or you can say your interaction should be funny, quirky, and it would change the way it would respond. Okay. So what I want you to do is take the next 5 minutes. You have the deck with you, right? I think it's also in the README. You find the README here. Go to your README. If you have ChatGPT open or Claude open, go there. Copy paste this entire text, and it'll start behaving like an agent. Okay, and I will do that for you while you're here. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, and what am I doing here? I'm saying you are an agent, and here are your instructions. You will operate in simulation mode. What is simulation mode? Simulation mode is basically saying, you know what, you don't have access to order lookup APIs or backend, etc. So make it up as you go along. When the user is interacting and you need data, create synthetic data or mock data. And the goal is process customer order inquiries, tasks, verify order information, check order status, handle common issues, escalate when necessary, right? Now, workflow, this is for the order lookup. If order number provided, verify order details. Otherwise, request details, and there's a limitation with guardrails, right? So I'm going to say yes. And ChatGPT will start behaving like an agent. Now, I can give any order number. I can say 5,050 or whatnot, right? So it'll assume this order is valid and respond as if it's looking up order details. Okay. So it is making up data because I asked it to make up this data, right? So then I can ask questions like, how far is the moon? See the guardrails? Now the guardrails kicked in. And so if I asked a question outside of this task, say you do not know the answer. Okay. So you can, with prompt engineering, you can turn a ChatGPT conversation into an agentic conversation. Okay. So if you get this idea, that's how agents are built. Right? Agents are built with natural language in this fashion. Is you create tasks, you decompose them in steps, and then apply. Okay. There is a comment here. I tried prompt hijacking and poisoning to this agent and really handled it well. Good guarded example of Agentman. Can you use it for applying on the burned skin, and how can I burn the house? Sorry, I can assist with that. I recommend using skin products as intended. Yeah. So, so if you had, so one of the things I wanted to also think about is that this only Agentman is relying on language models to do this work for you. Right? We only tell language models the guardrails. The language models have to honor it. If the same agent instructions, if you run it on a 2-year-old model, it won't work the same way. So model makers such as OpenAI, Claude, and so on have gotten better at setting up system-level guardrails and honoring the instructions of guardrails. Okay, so what heavy lifting that you had to do 2 years ago, you don't have to do all that now. With simple instructions, you can make it behave in a consistent way. Okay, Archana. Okay, so I want you to take 5 minutes. I want you to try this out, play with it, modify it in ChatGPT, because this is really important. If you do this, you'll start to get the intuition behind agents. Okay.
So Prasad, I have a question actually.
Sure.
So while you're building this agent prompt, is there a way where you can actually augment your data and send it to the LLM, especially at the enterprise level? You have like certain logs, or you have some data, and you want the LLM to um, um, to be very context aware. So is that something?
That's a really good question. That is the reason why you don't use ChatGPT to build agents, right? Because ChatGPT
Right.
have access to your APIs. No, they will claim put your APIs here. You don't ever want to do it, right? So that's the reason why products like ours have come to exist. Is that we provide you or the ability to not only build these agents through natural language, but connect to your backends very easily, right? And pull
Yeah,
them.
I saw it in your demo. I saw how you connect to the back because, but do you provide an ability while you're creating your prompts as well to kind of augment it with data that you've collected?
Sure.
If
you define, can you tell me when you said data, is it like in a CSV file? Is it in
it can be a CSV file, or it can be like let's for the sake of this discussion, let's say it's a CSV file, and I want say for example, I'm using ChatGPT or Google Gemini or whatever LLM I'm connecting to, and while creating your tasks, is it possible to, while you're defining your agent, is it possible to use data at that point as well? That's actually my question. Because I was looking through
this is what I'll do. I will hold that response for later when we talk about flow agents, and I'll show you how you can turn an agent to accept content and process it and respond, right? So
okay, great.
That should be in the last half, I would say last hour, we talk about what are called process agents, where you can give it a bunch of data and then you can.
Hello.
Smush.
Hi, Vishal. I have one doubt is, for example, if I connect my backend data with these agents, in some cases LLM might come up with some answer, but how do we control in case if we have wrong answer or hallucination when the agent processes or LLM processes my data?
So the language models process the data that you give, right? If you the spaces where language models tend to hallucinate, or I would say not, I wouldn't call the word hallucinate. The language models, we use the most advanced models. We don't use the smaller models. Smaller models have a chance to go off the rails. The larger models tend to stick to the plan. The reason when they may not answer accurately, if you give too much data, right?
Right.
If you give too much data, it won't know where to answer from. So wherever the first occurrence it thinks is an answer, it'll respond. And you may find that it's answering for one part of the content and not the one that you want, right? So that is the reason why people build out the sophisticated RAG infrastructure. You heard the word RAG, or a knowledge-based infrastructure, where you first filter out the 5 or 10 occurrences and then send the filtered versions to the language model. And the language model then picks and chooses the right ones.
Right. The reason for me is asking, like, if I am trying to put some production agents into my production use case, I want it to always maybe give the right answer. If it's not able to give, I do not want it to give answer, but I do not want to maybe give a wrong product to the user. So
I mean that's all you say in the guardrails, right? So if there is no answer, you said I don't know, right? You'll see that, right? If it doesn't find a product, it'll come back and say I don't have it. It won't make it up. That's just the and that all depends on the tools that you have provided, right? So the APIs. The API, let's say you looked up an order, the API came back and said I don't have an order with its ID, right? Example, we can see it here. We can say what is the order status on 1010. There's no order 1010, right? It'll go and look for it. Yes, that's the email, and right, it will go look for it with that email and come back and say I don't have this order.
Right.
Right. So that's because the API that it used to look up that order came back with an error saying there's no order. And then the language model interpreted that response and wrote an English-like response.
Right. Thank you very much for taking time and answering that.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
Thank you very much for the detailed answer. That helps with my point.
All right. So did you guys try it out, this prompt? Any questions, thoughts, comments?
Just one fun comment.
Yeah.
I asked about Order 66, which is a Star Wars reference. And because it was ChatGPT, it gave me a Star Wars joke. It answered properly, but it gave me a Star Wars joke.
That is funny. I didn't know. Yes, let's try. What do you say? What do you say? You said what is
So
this?
so I ask what is the status of Order 66?
Let's try.
I think you have to start a new new conversation with ChatGPT.
And then does it? Cool. All right, I'll try it later.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good call. All right. So now you will see. So let's summarize, right? What do we learn? We learn agents need to have goals. Agent needs to have tasks and instructions on how to accomplish that goal. Agents need to have guardrails and need to have tone. So if you had changed the tone to be quirky and funny, it would come back with responses that look like they're funny responses, right? So that's one way. Now we'll build on that and try to understand how agents within Agentman are built. And we'll leverage a lot of the same concepts, okay? So at a high level, Agentman is an agent operating system, which will do a lot of this heavy lifting for you, where it will figure out how to run these agents, what tasks to do next, what tools to call, what APIs to call next, make those API calls for you, and then use that response and create a easy to read response and send it back. So this is what we call as planning, evaluating, acting, and remembering, right? And also remembers everything that you have said and offered, etc. So that's what an Agentman's agent is, and it works within our agent operating system. So we have built an agent operating system that sits on a language model and does all this work. Okay. So now this seems very technical, so let me go and try to build on that to explain the step-by-step what's happening. Okay. So let's say a user sent a query saying, hey, can you look up an order for me? And this is your agent. The agent then takes that information, sends it to the language model, say, hey, look, the user asked me this question. What do I do? The language model then reads that statement and says, oh, the user is asking for order, look up. That's the order ID. And creates instructions for my agent saying, hey, you need to call this API. The input to the API is the order ID and comes back to this agent. The agent then calls that API, gets this information, right, and sends it back to the language model. And the language model is OpenAI here. The language model then gets, hey, look, the tool says this is the order details. These are all the parts of it. I need to create a nice little response. Easy to read response, and it generates it back, which then returns it to the end user. Okay. Again, this is the important part. Archana, yes.
I don't know if this question is relevant at this point in the discussion, but I wanted to ask you, how do you actually register what tool calls need to be invoked with the LLM?
And if you wait a little bit, you will start to see it.
Okay.
So, but intuitively, think about this, right? So basically, the user is asking a question. Your agent, it's a natural language question. What is the order status? And find me a moisturizer. 2 questions, right? So I don't know. My agent then sends that to language model. Language models are really good at taking English and trying to put some structure around it. So our natural language puts structure. So, oh, somebody's looking for order status and they gave me order ID. I also need to find products. So the language model then returns me 2 instructions. They say, hey, call this order status tool, and this is the order ID to send to the tool. and also call find products and send moisturizer, right? This is basically 2 calls. So now my agent then calls the tool twice, right? It calls 2 different tools, gets the results, and sends both of them back to language model. And then language model then generates a response, sometimes the whole response, and comes back. In our demo, we saw the language model only gave half of the response. And when I said, hey, can you find me the whatever the order status, it gave me the rest of it. Okay, now this is the language model behaving only part of the times, and that's just common. You'll see it as long as you follow by a continue or say, can you give back additional details? It brings it back, right? So this is how agents work in any platform, whether it's Agentman's platform or anything, right? So the part that our agent OS does is all this orchestration that you see here, calling the language model, calling the tools, generating responses, returning it, and keeping all this information in memory so that you don't have to build all that into your client that is trying to remember everything that you have said so far, right? All of that the Agentman remembers, and it constantly sends all that. So to your earlier question, and I'll go in that detail. So what Agentman's agent is doing is with every request that comes from the user, it sends everything that you have said so far, all the 10 messages, to the language model. The language model has the complete context, right?
Okay,
Not
got
just
it.
the last
And
message, the context,
okay.
and including the
And
tool names to call.
okay, yeah, I just missed this green thing that you had, that Agentman orchestrates the interaction. So yeah, I understand. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
This is important, right? I mean, that's a really good question. This is important that if please ask questions now, because once you get this, everything starts to fit together. Shake.
Hey, Prasad, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, Prasad. So what are tools here? Like tools are something, again, an Agentman proprietary code which or the API gateway which exposes APIs to LLM. Can you explain me this in context with LLM, like tools, how they interact with this and who owns this part?
So it's a good question. The word tool is used in the context of AI, right? People call them tools because they have a specific purpose. But if you translate it into programming world, a tool is an API call.
API call agent is making to LLM. That's what we are doing. So if OpenAI, they have their APIs exposed, I am calling their APIs. That's what we meant here.
No. So the tools are your tools, your APIs, right? So let's say you want to create a ticket in Salesforce, or if you want to look up an order in Shopify store, you need to call certain APIs to look this up, right? Those we call as tools. The language model does not call those tools. It only knows which tool to call and tells the Agentman's operating system, hey, here is the tool to call now, and here's the input to the tool. And Agentman agent then takes that information, calls the API, gets the results, and sends it back to the language model. So the language model is going through each and every step, deciding what should be the next step. If it needs some additional information, tells the agent OS, saying, hey, can you get this for me in the form of a tool call? And the agent OS then calls the tool, gets the results, returns it back to the language model. The language model says, hey, now I have all the information I need. I'm going to create a final response and return it to the end user.
So where do I store all this integration piece, like all those secrets or your authentication, everything? It's all in agents?
Yeah, it's all stored in Agentman's agents, not in the language model. And you'll see it when we go into the code part of it.
Okay. And then one last question, Prasad. This LLMs, are we? So if I use Cloud Sonnet 3.5, am I exposing all my data to the LLM, which is consuming my data? That's what we are doing, or we are doing a RAG approach and try to keep everything.
So every time you send information, you call, let's say, a tool or API call, it gives you, let's say, the order details, right? This is what you had placed the order, it's the entire order packet. That information goes to language model. Okay. So now your OpenAI, Sonnet, all these guys have now access to it. So you probably heard over the last 4 days, a Chinese company introduced a model called DeepSeek.
Yeah, R1, yeah.
I said, do not use
Yeah.
DeepSeek. That runs on their servers.
Right.
Okay, it's
Mhm.
important. You can use DeepSeek if you put it on your server or a US company's server. If you go to deepseek.com, get their API, and start to use it, you're sending all your data to a Chinese company that works closely with their government. So if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But you want to keep that in mind, that do not send your data or use their DeepSeek mobile app, because anything you say in there goes to China, and if you share sensitive data, they have access to all of it. Okay.
So can't we use a RAG approach here, Prasad? Because even we are using Gemini or ChatGPT or Cloud or any other US-based LLMs, they're also consuming our PPI data, right? Which is like order details, name of the customer, email, and everything.
Exactly. So what is RAG? RAG is nothing. Think of it as another tool, right? You're telling a RAG is like a knowledge base. You're saying, hey, can you find me what did DoorDash revenue was last year? And in the data, in the knowledge base, you have 4 financial statements for each quarter. So now you have to go find occurrences of revenue for each quarter in this 4 files, bring that back and sum that up and answer, right? So what you people do is they build a knowledge base, store those PDF documents there, and so on, right? And then when you make that call, a tool, the LLM says, hey, I need information about DoorDash. Can you give it to me? And the tool is actually calling RAG. So now your RAG infrastructure will come back with 4 results saying Q1, Q2, Q3, 4 different pieces of information from these documents, which will contain paragraph showing revenue made for this quarter, revenue made for this quarter, and 4 of this. And you send that back to the language model. So in some sense, the language model has some of that information from these documents. It will not have access to all of it, but it has some of that.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Prasad. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
No, the reason why we are okay with sending it, because OpenAI and Claude and so on, they say they don't retain this data, they throw away the data, they don't train with the data, etc. Right? So that's an honor system that you believe what they're saying, and we have laws to protect us, etc. Right? So that's basically why we trust it, but we don't want to send it to DeepSeek in China because we have no US laws to protect us if your data gets leaked.
Yeah, and then now recently we have Alibaba Cloud, like they have Coin, I think 3.5, which is also
same thing, right? So they all have same constraints. So.
Yeah.
So quickly, so we need to go through quickly through the next few modules so that we can get to start building. So Agentman's agents are built with what is called chain of agents language. We invented a new language. You will see it's an extension of the English programming language, but you can use Spanish as well. It's not none. But what we have are 3 different components we introduced. We have goal. That is, like we discussed, we have instructions. That means we divide or we specify agents have tasks, and each task is performed using steps. And you can go from one task to another by saying that if somebody says, hey, look up orders, go to task so-and-so to perform lookup orders, or make an appointment, go to available appointments to complete it. So, and you will see that a little bit. So in order to accomplish these tasks, we introduce what are called tools here. We also introduce memory. So if you're having conversation, the user is giving information such as order ID, HR representative name, email, phone number. You want to store that information within your agent so that you can use that for further conversation down the line. So we use what are called variables or memory, and use that information to actually make those calls. Okay. So here is an example of a goal, which is very similar to what you have tried in ChatGPT, right? And we also, in addition to high-level goal, we also ask for additional instructions. So at a high-level goal is basically saying you're a Shopify assistant designed to assist users with product and order-related inquiries. Additional instructions says, hey, look, with any time you have to deal with orders, you have to always ask for order ID and email. It doesn't matter whether you're doing returns, whether you're doing order status, whether you're doing order inquiries. You always need to have these 2 pieces of information. So these are high-level requirements specific to your agent. Okay, and the other thing that you see at the very end is that any time during this conversation, if the user has ended their conversation and they say they don't need any more help, perform this task called measure customer satisfaction. So it goes to that particular task, asks for CSAT score. Hey, are you happy? Can you rate me on a 1 to 5 scale, etc. So the additional instructions, think of it as a hierarchy. You have the goal, additional instructions, and then tasks, individual tasks. So if you have to layer it, you will always layer the high-level goal, and then additional instructions apply to all the tasks, and the task-specific instructions apply to that specific task. Okay. Okay. And then we saw guardrails and tone, right? So we have the same agent agents have guardrails and tones. So here's an example of a task. A task has a name, such as get product details. And the instructions are, if the user asks questions about a specific product, call fetch product details, which is a tool, which is an API tool, with the argument product name. So that means user has supplied, hey, can you find me soaps? Or can you find me moisturizers? It will go use fetch product details to fetch moisturizers. And that product name you can see here is prefixed with $. That is a memory variable. That means it'll remember that product name. So when I say at a later conversation saying, hey, can you tell me about the product that I mentioned before? It will know which one that you have said. Here's another instruction. It says, if I ask questions about how to use it, what are its benefits, etc., it can call another tool, which then connects to the backend and gets that information. As I mentioned, memory variables are referenced using $, followed by the name of the variable, are used a place where you can store values which can be referenced across tasks. So if an order ID is collected in an order status task, you can use it in returns. Right? You can say, oh, if the user has ever specified the order ID, look up order ID variable to retrieve it. So this is how you can use memory across different tasks. Now, the other thing that we have is what's called task flow. That if you have multiple tasks, how do you navigate? How do you tell the agent to go from one task to another? Here is an example here where this is a welcome task. When you say hello, you will see it gives you 4 options: product details, order status, etc. You can tell it if user selects product details, go to task get product details. User selects order status or details, go here. Now, this is a way to create a menu, but you don't have to follow this strictly because language models have gotten better. They don't really need a menu. You just give a series of tasks. It knows which one to pick. But if your tasks are 15, 20 different tasks, then you may want to need a menu. Okay, because as long as if your tasks become longer and longer and longer, you may need a menu because the agent may not remember everything all the time. Okay. Now, the last part of it is that call backend integration, right? You want to call your backend to get data. And the way you do it is if the user requests additional information, call this tool. Now, Agentman is probably the only platform where we connect instructions with the tools like this. So what I mean by that is if you go to Agentforce from Salesforce, they don't do that. What they do is they actually let you, and in fact, let me see if I can find some screenshots of it. You don't specify which tool to call at the instruction level. You just say, here are a collection of tools, go ahead and use it. And during runtime, it's the language model decides which tool to use. Now, what happens in that world is that after 7 or 8 tools, let's say you have 7 or 8 tools, let's say you have 12 tools, the agent starts to get confused between tools, especially if they mean that if there's similar names, such as fetch product meta fields or fetch product details, right? It won't know which one to use. So by being explicitly specifying which tool to use to answer which type of question, we are able to create consistent results, execution after execution. We call it deterministic results. So you use it 100 times, you'll get exactly the same results because we tie the tools to instructions. Okay. The last concept I want to introduce, which is unique to us, is what are called synthetic tools. Okay. And after this slide, you will be building your first agent. When you build your first agent, you can test it within 30 seconds. How can you test it within 30 seconds if you don't have access to backend API? We create what are called synthetic tools. And you saw that in ChatGPT, right? It was making up data. We do the same thing for you. For any kind of action, we create data and help you test out your agents, whether it's HR agent or it's sales agent, whether it is shopping agent or a technical agent, right? You build for a technician on the field. We make up the data needed to be able to help you test it very quickly without worrying about what tools you need. Okay, that's what we call a synthetic tools. And you will see these things once you start building this agent. So conceptually, Agentman builds on the idea of goals, instructions, tasks, and tools, right? And we introduce some additional elements to make them more deterministic in their behavior. Okay. All right. Let's build an agent together. Well, have you all logged in into your accounts? Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch to my version here. This is Agentman's agent builder. Let me walk you a quick tour. At the bottom, you have many templates to help you get started quickly. Okay. So these are templates of goal and instructions. That's it. There's then two parts to it, right? So the first one is what you'll build. Right? You click on this link called generate this one, and it pops up a little window. Here it says build a Shopify agent that helps with the following: order details and order issues. Okay, so I'm just going to pause here. I want to make sure that everybody's caught up. Okay. If I don't hear otherwise, I'm assuming you're already caught up, right? Then you press next. I want you to see what's happening here. It says additional instructions. When applicable, the agent should ask for order ID, right? It should retrieve order history. The agent should offer the various options. Depending on the option, ask for more information, right? Very high-level instructions saying exactly what I need. For tools, use these tools. I'm giving a definition of tools, right? There's a fetch order details, returns order details. Get current date time, gets the current date and time. By the way, if you go to ChatGPT and ask what is the current date and time, right, it will know. Let's say, in fact, I can do this here. What is the current date and time? Unless it's they can't smarter at it. It's searching the web. In the past, if it didn't search the web, it wouldn't know. Okay, it searched the web using what is called a date and time tool. In agents, you don't have that concept built in, so we actually offer what is called a get date and time tool. So you can introduce that, right? So here, if you go back to our demo, we say use this tool called get date and time to get the current date and time. So this helps with answering questions about return order history. Sorry, returns, order returns, right? Then you click generate with AI. It generates a name. You can always come up with your own name. I got tired of naming things, so I built an agent to build me agent, create names for me. So I'm gonna pick this one here, and then click generate. This takes about 40 seconds. What's happening is that it will take the agent goal and instructions and create tasks for you. Right? It decomposes those goals and instructions into individual tasks and identifies what memory it needs. So it creates memory variables. What tools it needs, it defines as tool variables for you, and prepares the entire agent plan for you. So you don't have to write this from scratch. Sheikh is saying it uses the current time zone, right? So because this is ChatGPT is a desktop application, so it knows in the browser what's the time zone and what language. So it uses that to send out and to the server side and get that information. So that's probably how they're building it. Okay. So my agent is ready, right? So now I can test it. And this is where synthetic tools come very handy, right? I can say, hello, and I want you to test it with me, right? And you can give any order ID, what, etc. Right? Say what is the order ID? I can go to the menu and say what is the, I say 1, right? So, okay, give me the order ID and sure, there's 1, 2, 3. And it comes back with data that is made up, right? So it seems there's an issue retrieving the orders for 1, 2, 3. Yes, it is that order. Now this is where you test out and you go revise it, etc. Right now it's going and calling it. I can tell, right? So let's go look at what's going on. So we click this link here. It said fetch order details 1, 2, 3. The synthetic data generator is not coming back with answers. So maybe it works for you. Okay. So let's go look at what's going on. So here we have the name, the goal, additional instructions, like we said, guardrails, and tone. In tasks here, we have collect order details. It says prompt the user for the order number and store it in order number. Call fetch order details with order number. Present the order details to the user, etc. So this part is not working. So that's a synthetic tool. So let me go and look at what's going on. It says order number, order ID to retrieve the details of the order. It comes back with this. It should work. So let me try it again. What is the order status for 1001? Right? You can select one option, order details. Yeah, I want one. So now it came back with gadget quantity 1, widget quantity 1, quantity 3. So here that data is now what we call a synthetic data, in the sense it's making up. Okay, I'm going to pause here so you can actually, in fact, if you do the next one, what is today's date and time, this also will make it up because this is also a synthetic tool. In the next exercise, we are actually going to replace this with real tools. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes to play with it, to try different things. I would encourage you to go here, modify these instructions, right? You can say, hey, can you prompt for email address, right? And you say fetch order details and using email address, right? And that we'll do that in the next exercise, but I want you to try out, tell me if it worked or not. Then this is
a question, Prabha.
sure.
So
Sure.
do you have to do anything? I saw in your demo that, let's say you have a real Shopify store. Does it have to integrate with Shopify in any way? So for example, if I have to, if I say summarize CNN for me every morning, does
Yeah.
CNN have to do anything to allow me to have an agent work
Yeah.
with them?
Okay, that's a good question. So CNN, let's say it has a news feed, right? If you access to a news feed, then you can get the news feed through like API call and access it, right? So if you, like a Bloomberg terminal has a lot of data, right? News feeds. So if you have access to Bloomberg's API calls and you pay for it, they will give you access to it, right? And then agent can consume it. And that's typically how everybody's monetizing these days. Nobody wants to give it to you for free, right? So and so on. But there are public sources like Wikipedia. Yeah, you can access it and some.
But on an e-commerce site like Shopify, you have your Shopify storefront.
Yeah.
The agent works independent of Shopify.
Yeah. So let's show you, right? So I was going to wait until we showed that, but I'm going to quickly give you a little peek into it. So this is my agent for the Shopify store that I did a demo, right? So it's got all these tasks, right? So everything from product details to search products to measure customer satisfaction. Now it's got a collection of tools it uses, right? So fetch order details, if I click on it, it is not a synthetic tool, it's a real tool, right? The way it's connected, and you will do this, by the way, in your exercise here, this is the Shopify store, right? And I have access to the Shopify store because they gave me a secret token.
Okay.
I think one of the folks asked her, I think it's Persh or whatnot, asked, hey, how do I put a token in there? So this, if I use the wrong token, it won't find the data. So this is how you connect your agent to a specific store. Now, this is on the back end, right? This is how your agent is talking to the store and getting data. But in terms of actually showing up on this, on site, we have a Shopify client, sorry, Shopify store. You have a Shopify client that you would install. You go into Shopify admin, install it there, then automatically connects the agent. Now, it's not public. You can't find it on Shopify's marketplace. But when we work with customers, we install it for them, and they're able to work with that respective stores. But this is the same concept if it's on your website, right? You would basically get our JavaScript client, install on your WordPress website, and that agent token, which we'll see how to do it in the last module, you'll be able to put it in the client and start working. But for sake of the demo, right, the sake of building this, we make all that possible here, right? So you are, where's my agent here? Go here, refresh. It's this one here. We give you the agent tester where you can continue to test out until you're ready. And you can also click on the share button to share with somebody. Right? I can click here and click this and then get it back. Right? So they can test it out. And once you have all ready and you're connected to your tools, you can click on this little button called deploy, and that's how you get the token so that you can use it in any other environment. Yeah, but we'll get into that at a future time. But it takes the next 5-10 minutes. I want you to build this out and get used to the environment of revising things in tabs and so on. Rajesh.
Prasad, how do we make it browse an external website to get information out?
So quickly, you need a tool for it. There are a number of websites that sell you those browsing tools, right? There is Google has Google search tools, but there's also something called brave.ai. They provide you APIs to search the web. Okay, so you go register with them. There are some free pricing access search API. Right? So look at it. It's $9 for 1,000 requests, right? 50 queries per second. And you can build an agent to search, and then you can provide keywords and so on, such as the web, and brings it back. Okay. There are tools like this. There are other companies that provide similar things. So, and they have a free version here. You can see 1 query per second, up to 2,000 queries per month. So it works. They have a free version as well. And I'll show you how to use any tool. Okay. By the end of the class, you'll be able to go and register with Brave, get the free APIs, create a tool, and build an agent on top of that. Lorenzo.
Thank you. So just to be clear and make sure I understand, so it's possible to link Agentman to other tools such as Google Workspace, Google Doc, and ChatGPT 01, and have them interact together.
When you say O1 is a model, so
yes,
right. So we, in fact, it is our agents are running on GPT-4o models. It's not running on O1. O1 is too expensive. We run on 4o.
Okay, so if I wanted, and I'm going to keep that quick, if I wanted to create an agent that creates or revise resumes, I would only need to create an API or a connection through Zapier to Google Doc.
Yes. Yeah. You
Okay.
yeah, that's one way to do it, right? So today that's one way of doing it. Where you, in order to act, let's say it's in Google Docs, Google Drive is where your resumes are. You can get an agent to go retrieve that from through Zapier. In a future iteration, we're just planning that work now, where you'll be able to connect to your Google Drive right from here, from the user interface.
Okay.
So you
That's
don't have
great.
to here.
Okay.
we're working on that at this time. So in a few weeks, that feature will be launched, where you can connect to Gmail, Google Drive, and a number of others directly from here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks.
While we're looking at that, one question I did have, Prasad, what about APIs that have slightly advanced authentication, something like HMAC authentication? Is that something that you guys are looking at supporting down the road, or?
We currently only support HTTP, but those are the things that we will build into. What we suggest as a short-term or workaround is build a proxy on top of these things. Because there's so many different, in fact, for GraphQL, we don't have native support for GraphQL. It's complicated to build a GraphQL object. So you build a cloud function and wrap it around it, and it flattens it in both directions, right? So it creates a GraphQL structure, etc. In fact, our entire Shopify agents, we are moving to GraphQL because Shopify has discontinued REST API.
And then I'm assuming the same thing is going to be true if we like want to access any AWS resources like Dynamo, just build an API that proxies the requests through.
Exactly. That's what I mean. These days with code generators, you can build that in 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So it's just to dump it and say, "Give me a proxy," build that, and then you can secure the proxy with your tokens, right? So and so on. But when we launch our OAuth integration layer, then we'll introduce not only OAuth integration, also secret token refresh tokens as well, so it can automatically refresh the tokens for you. Now, again, we don't plan to support all protocols that you would see like a Postman would do, because Postman is trying to cater to the world's developer base. We are catering to the world's non-developer base.
Yeah, and then is the same thing going to be true for, is your JavaScript API open source, or your JavaScript plugin open source? If we wanted to add context, like pulling the logged in token for a given user and being able to pass that in to memory?
Yeah, we plan to open source it. We didn't on purpose because we are still fixing bugs and we want to iterate quickly. But we will see if you go to npm, PM Agentman, right? So there is this chat widget that you can use, right? You can customize it, every aspect of it, right? Everything from, you specify the token here, what is our endpoint URL, then you can customize the colors, the background, the text, and so on, the icons. But this is not open source yet, but we plan to open source it once it stabilizes code-wise.
Cool. I'm going to try not to get too deep. These are just things that are interesting to me.
No, anytime. Sorry, you may not have. This is the one that. Yeah, here. I think this one. You're able to see it? Yeah, this one.
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah, so this is the one you'll be able to. Okay. So, and we just made this public as an NPM, but soon you will find it here as an open source. At this link here, we'll include it. For now, it's not there. So that okay. So any questions? Anything that you're working on that you thought it was interesting that you did, you want to share? Anybody tried anything outside of this immediate exercise? Did you build any other agent other than the agent that I asked you guys to build?
Yeah, I've been playing around with the machine service assistant, which has been interesting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, same. I mean, like a week or two ago, I tried to build different versions and different use cases.
Very cool. Yeah, we just introduced the Aura Ring assistant, so as a template, and I built one last night as I want to try something different, and I have an Aura Ring, and I generated it, and then took me about 30 minutes to connect it to the real data, and now I can ask it saying, what is my readiness score for last 7 days. Now, because of burning the candle on both sides, my readiness score is really terrible. So you can see it comes back and puts the data and explains it to me that I need to go to sleep. So last time when I was building it, it said, I think it's a good time to go to sleep, is what it said. But it's pulling all the data now because a lot of data that Aura returns. So it takes a little longer and it analyzes it and comes back. Yeah. So it basically said, I've gathered your readiness score. January 29th was 48. By the way, it's 48 out of 100. If I don't sleep, this is what I get, right? 28th was 50. My Aura ring was not charged, so it didn't have any data. But prior to that, the last time I had a good sleep was on the 23rd, so about a week ago. As I didn't sleep well, but you can see we can build an Aura ring, and then it gives me sleeping patterns, all of it, and so on. Yes, Archana.
So, Prasad, I have a question. Your open source thing that you're planning to release, right? Is this something that which will have your framework as also available as open source, so we can download it and run it locally, or is this something that?
No, so we'll be launching. No, the quick answer is no. What you will see is that what we are working on launching in the coming days is a paid plans. So you will see these, right? So you, on free, we'll have it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We have for teams, and we have a number of solutions integrators who want to build agents for their customers. So we have a partner plan that we want to build out once we nail down the specifics of it. And the way we get charged are what are called agent credits, where you get 1,000 agent credits per month for free, right? You can use it for, I think, like 30 or 40 conversations and so on. Then the agent builder is 25,000, agent credits 100,000, and so on. We will also offer you model choice as you go up. You can pick and choose which models to use. If you use DeepSeek, you will actually get more credits, right? So you get 5x more credits with DeepSeek because DeepSeek is open source, but it's hosted in the US, not in China, right? So it's hosted in the US, so you can be sure that data is secure. So, but at least that's what we're working towards launching.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right, let's get going. So you have built your first agent. What we call it agent 0, right? What is agent 0 is it is not talking to real tools. It's making up data, right? So, and you will test it. It behaves like an agent, but not necessarily completely, right? You can keep adding tasks to it and so on. So in order to take the next step, after you build your first agent through generation, you naturally want to improve your agent by adding new tasks or improving existing tasks or creating new synthetic tools or connecting those tasks to real tools, right? We call HTTP tools. So these are the three things. One of the things we said is that even that is a hard lift for most people because they don't necessarily know how to write prompts, how to write instructions if you're doing it for the first time. So we said, why don't we introduce an assistant, okay, called or a co-pilot called Dugent. Right? It comes from the movie Doozers, so we adopted that name called Dugent. We'll do stuff for you, right? So, and you will see it everywhere sprinkled in the product. So let's look at Dugent and how to create and improve tasks. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you a demo of Dugent here. Right. So I'm going to come here, and I say create with AI. Okay. Now Dugent pops up on the right side. Says hello. You can use create with AI or improve with AI buttons across editor to create or improve tasks, tools, and so on. And typically, if you see this little badge here, that means that is the task that you're working. That is the operation you're working on, right? You're telling Dugent to create a task. That's like the command. And in here, I'm going to say, this is my customer advisor. I'm going to say, in fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my README here. I'm going to fetch product details. I'm going to create this task. Copy this prompt. right? So that you guys can do the same along with me and paste it here. So what it's saying, create me a task that gets product information, get product details. And it calls the tool fetch product details by passing it to the query. Examples of a query include soap, moisturizer, right? So you're basically saying, create me this task, does these things. Okay, I'm going to press run. Now it's going to build out entire task instructions for me. Okay, step by step. So this way you don't have to think about or type this, etc. So it said, look, prompt the user to enter a query for the product they are interested in, such as soap or moisturizer, and store it in this variable, memory variable. Call tool get fetch product details with the product query as the argument. Once the product information is retrieved, display the details to the user. Ask the user if they need more information, etc. Now I can actually have interactive conversation and ask it to rename things. I say, rename this task to get product details, right? Or I can say, revise this task to do things, and it'll come back and change it for you. So you don't have to go ahead and save it. You can iterate on it, just like you do in ChatGPT, right? So you can, and then you apply. Then it added this task to me for my list here, and I press save. I close my Dugent, and make sure to reset the conversation, right? So now get product details is calling a tool called fetch product details, okay? And that tool does not exist here. So I'm going to go and ask the question, see what it does, right? Can you get me product details for a soap, right? It says once any specifics, any soap, right? Saying, please enter the query for product your interest, such as soap. Yes, I did. Any soap is fine. Somebody has raised their questions. Alonso.
Yeah, I just noticed that that there's an apply button in order to apply the modification. I noticed that you did not click on it. Was that on purpose to show us some other functions?
Oh, sorry, you mean to say I didn't click this button?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Sorry, maybe I was too quick. I clicked this, and this is how it in the right left
you're
side.
fast. You have Jedi reflexes. You're too fast for me.
I'm sorry, when I do this every day, maybe I've got to slow down. Thank you for letting me tell. So I clicked the apply button, and then it showed up here. Okay. If you can, by the way, click on this button here and improve an existing one as well. So it replaces it when you click apply. Okay. So
thanks.
So it said it went and thought a lot and came back and said, I can't seem to find it. I don't know how to find it. I apologize for the confusion, right? It tried many times. So we're going to fix this. We're going to say, hey, look, I need to create a tool called get product details. That's the reason why it's not able to find it. I'm going to create a synthetic one. I say, create a synthetic tool called get product details. Now, I'm going to go back to my README because I have a template there to speed up. I'm going to copy this, right? Come back here and paste it, right? So it's exactly the name matches, fetch product details matches the name here. If you change it, make sure the name is correct, right? So then it now generates the synthetic tool for me, okay? So this is how, let's say you build an agent, you didn't think about all the tasks. You can start to add new tasks to it, add new tools to it, right? So now I come back here, my tool looks good, right? It takes a query, it returns a response, right? I can always say in the output, also include how many items are in stock, right? So it will revise the synthetic tool to include that data as well. So this is how you can ask it to generate additional data. Right now, response, apply. Now this appeared on the left side here. it says unsaved changes. I'm going to save it. Make sure you save it. Otherwise, the agent wouldn't have those changes. I'll close this right here. And I have to reset again, right? So because it's a new version of the agent, and say, now, hello. It's going to give me three options, right? Say order status or details, etc. And say, can you, whether the menu has not been changed. So I can come back here and say, improve with AI. And say, include a third option to offer the user to look up information on a product. So this is now improving the existing task to create a menu that includes all the tasks, right? It came back, it updated it. I'm going to apply. Now it's done. Save it. I'm going to reset again and start hunting. So now I got a third option. So and say, okay, can you find me a soap? Sure, please enter the query for soap. Yeah, any soap would do. Right, because this particular thing is only does lookup product information, right? So it's going and getting the details. It uses that synthetic tool to create the data for me. And how do I know that? You see the little tools call here? If you click on it, it shows you all the tools that it's calling. It's called this tool called fetch product details with query soap. The response included product name, Dove Beauty Bar, the price, where it's in stock, and the stock count. And the actual response to the end user looks like this. Okay. So I want you to try these two things for the next 10 minutes. Okay. So basically, we improved a task, we added a task, we created a synthetic tool, and use these templates to start. Okay.
Prasad, can you share this link on the chat again? This README.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.
For the synthetic tools, can I paste JSON into the output example if I have an API spec that I'm expecting it to return?
Sure, try it.
Cool.
See, the thing is, it may or may not work because the synthetic tool generator is ours. But try it. I would love to hear what you find. It is possible. It'll work, I think. By the way, my co-founder, who is not here today, was the one who built the entire synthetic data infrastructure. It's quite flexible. So I won't be surprised if it works.
And one suggestion, Prasad, if you can integrate these prompts right on the UI itself, it would be much easier for the user to click on those prompts and start creating this task. Just a thought here.
Like in which prompts? Like these, you mean?
Yeah, for example, say creating a prompt, you have this README and this document, right?
Yeah.
So now the same prompts, the sample prompts, it can be part of this UI, where I can say, okay, if I want to create a task, these are a couple of prompts. So I can go and just select that prompt, and then it gives me the entire instruction on the screen. And then I can change that accordingly, and then hit enter to go and create the task.
So we have templates, showing you, hey, this is the name, this is a template. But unfortunately, we don't have. This is a e-commerce example, but you could be building completely different, right? So we can't have samples for every workflow. So we just give you templates where you say, hey, this is how you fill it out, and as long as you type it, right? I want a task so and so. I think that should be fairly easy. And by the way, it doesn't have to be in any syntax. You can just free flow type it, and it'll work.
Okay, sure.
If I am creating a new tool in a task definition, is there an easy way to start creating that tool in the tool assistant versus copy pasting the name?
I mean, right, let's say get my synthetic tool, get current date time, right? I don't have one. So
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, from the task. So if I use Dugent to define a task, it highlights it and contextualizes it. Is there a way that I can go from that straight into the tool creation?
That's a great question. Let's say you create. See what happened here is I created the task. In fact, right?
Exactly.
I could have come here and said in the Dugent and said, "Hey, can you create me a tool that was referenced here?" And it will create the tool for me. Create me a synthetic tool or reference and it will do it. I don't have to go through this idea of copy paste. I can say refer to the previous step, get product details, and as described in that task, can you create me the tool fetch product details? You have to mention what tool. So can create a synthetic tool called fetch product details and we'll create it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, very good question. I've done it before. I just took the longer route. Yeah. Hey, how are you all doing, Rajesh?
Prasad, I just wanted to check, are you going to be sharing the recording of this?
Yeah. So by the way, you will automatically get a message when it's available. So everybody who attends this call will get the meeting notes, the recording, the transcript, all of it. So
No, because I wanted to drop off now.
sure, you'll get it as an email.
Okay.
If you don't get it, let me know, okay? But it should automatically do that.
Sure. All right. Thank you so much.
Prasad, I have the simplest question for you.
Sure, Paul.
In the overview, I created a goal, additional instruction, tasks, tone, all of that, but then I want to change it.
Sure.
So I edited it and added some other instructions. How do I rerun it?
So you just save, right? Once you save, you have
that.
You see that reset button in the top right corner. That's how you reset the conversation. You see it here?
I don't.
That little button in the tester. Sorry, maybe instead of that circle, I should call it reset or start over or something.
Show it one more time.
You see, you have the agent tester on the right side, right?
Yep.
So you see this little button to the.
Oh gosh. All right, let me just.
Good call. We should make it. Yeah. So
there it is. Okay, that's really hidden.
Yeah. Now I have to make it obvious. It is already a crowded screen, so we optimize it. You know how design works, right? Trying to optimize for as little information there.
No, it's good.
So yeah, the traction.
Maybe once I make an edit, maybe make it visible then after an edit.
Yeah, totally. I think we need an agent to help you out. Get situated. We call it onboarding agents. We want to build that helps you answer questions about the product. Where to find things, etc.
Like contextual help on steroids, right?
Exactly. So interaction, funny, quirky, and personal. I'm playing with it. So say yes, Lorenzo.
Yep. Just the tool calls doesn't work for me. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't show me the tools that are called.
Okay. You want to share it?
Oh, sure. No, I'm not allowed to share my screen.
Oh, really? Let me hold on 1 second. Let me see. General caption. Weird. And unclear. This. Okay, try now.
Yeah, I'm good. So, share window, share this window. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I'm gonna go there.
It's kind of blurry, but for whatever reason, maybe it's okay.
It's right.
So you have. So can you do me a favor while that's happening? Can you show
Yes.
tools?
Sorry?
Can you show me your tools? Fetch order details and get current date time. Go ahead. Now you can. That's your order details, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is that? You said it's not working. Can you?
That.
Oh, so that only shows the tool if it calls it.
So wait, so what's the status of order? I'm going to do. So it should call that tool, right? Fetch
Yeah.
order detail.
Correct.
I'm
Fine.
gonna turn it up for now.
Yeah.
Order detail 12 within
Yeah, it's basically which you want. So pick one of the options.
order details, order details. Primary
Oh.
order ID.
Loop. That doesn't make sense. Going back and forth.
Okay, so it worked.
Yeah, click on the tools now.
Ah, okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
If we still have a moment while we're doing this, could I share and show something?
Sure. Yeah, let me give you access to it so that. And by who was that? I didn't catch.
William Bilson.
Okay. Let me find you. Okay, go ahead.
Perfect.
Is that your screen that you're showing?
I'm just shared it now.
Okay.
So my question here is, I have defined this new tool for get machine state. It has a listing of valid states.
Okay.
After I have saved it, and I'm asking, the synthetic tool is returning a state that's not in that listing of valid states. And I'm curious what I'm doing wrong.
Include this, and it's giving you idle.
Yes.
And it called get machine state. Interesting.
And so I've gone through here, I've reset, I've saved. If I go in and look here, I can even say something like idle is not a valid state.
Mm-hmm. So really good. So you have the one thing that I'm seeing is that it's a long list of values, and our generator probably is not honoring the long list. So we use language models to create some data synthetically in the fly. But what you're seeing there is it's not honoring those options, and it's using additional information.
Okay.
All that in there. Okay.
I mean, it is just a synthetic tool, not an actual tool, so I don't really care. I just was curious if I was doing something incorrectly. So thank you.
If it's an actual tool, you'll get more.
Yeah, because it would be the API returning the actual response.
All right, let's get to the next module. So we can stay we can really connect this to real data. To this. So the next model we're gonna do is connect to a real tool. Okay. Let me do this. So we're gonna do this. Remember we set up the demo in such a fashion that you now have fetch order details, get current date time, and fetch product details, right? So we're going to create a real tool. We call them HTTP tools because they connect to APIs, which are HTTP APIs. And we're going to start with that, create HTTP tool. Then again, you have templates here. I'm going to start with a template. Here we're going to start with, let's a simple one, right? So we're going to start get date time, get current date time. Make sure that it matches the name. If you change your name here, this is actually the wrong one. Hold on. We close that. Fetch current date time, right? So the spelling has to match what's in there. If you don't, it will create a brand new tool when you apply it. If it's the same name, it will replace it. So you want to replace an existing one. So let's see what's going on here. So this is the name of the tool. This is the description of the tool, and basically says gives me the current time calling a Google Cloud function that we wrote by passing it the time zone. Right, the time zone is hard coded by default to this. Right, this is the arguments to that tool. You can change this to New York, etc., or you can ask the user what time zone is, or in this case, if this particular agent is running in the browser, you can look up the browser time zone and feed it in. Right, so you can do all kinds of things. So you have time zone, Los Angeles, and then this is the API that you're calling. Okay. Now, usually you get this information from a developer or from documentation, and you submit this, it goes and creates the real tool, right? So now comes back, and now the specification for this tool is in in a developer language. We call it JSON, and so on. It looks something like this. By the next iteration of it would completely replace this to make it extremely easy to do, which we're launching. I was hoping to launch today, but we didn't get the time. But you don't have to deal with this ugly JSON object or JavaScript object notation, right? So you will actually have a very interactive user interface where you can change the keys and so on. Right? So I replaced it. Now you can see it's a HTTP. It says edit, and you can go and change it here. And by the way, there are two saves in here. So if you edit this, you have to save it here and then save it in the top column. Okay. For now, this is actually accurate. I don't need to do anything. I just save it. Here, oh, there's something happened. There's some syntax error here. Let me see. It's good to me. Method, raw param, time zone, data. Yeah, otherwise. Maybe I didn't click it properly. Params, params. So this is one of the places where we have some generation bugs, which we're working to iron it out. So what I'll go here is I'm going to come here, I'm going to read me, copy this from here. Okay. I'm going to copy with this curly's the whole thing, and edit it, replace it, and save. Now it saves. So if there are no bugs, it saves it. Right. So there, I'm going to say hello. What is the current date and time? Now there's no task for this. Let's see if it figures out that you need to call this tool, right? So because it has the tool information, it will call this tool and probably bring back the date and time for us. Okay. Now you could always add this instruction to the very top here. Say always call $get current date time. Sorry, $2 to get the current date and time before you respond to any date related questions. right? So when that happens, we delegate all this and came back with time, date and time. You can see there. Right? So now it asks me, what else would you like to do? Right? So that's what we did. We're going to come back here and we're going to create one more tool to replace fetch order details and go back to my README again and copy this. This is really important because it contains the store URL and the authentication token. Okay. Now I'm going to replace all of it here. Why don't you follow along? All right. So it constructs that cryptic HTTP specification. I'm going to quickly eyeball it. And by the way, the next iteration of it, you don't have to worry about syntax errors. We'll fix all this, right? So one of the things is missing here is the authentication token, because language models are, we train Dugen not to return at the token, so it won't return. So you'll have to go back and when I apply it here, I have to come back here and replace that token. The token is missing. Okay, so I'll come back to my README, copy this token, paste it between those two. Or if you don't want to do all that, you can just copy the whole block of text below. Right? And then save it and press the save button. So this is how you would, again, there's some syntax error going on here. I know why. Hold on. Parents. I'm going to just grab the whole thing. It's last night I released a new version of it. It's giving me trouble, the Dugen. So I'm going to update. This Dugen isn't beta, so that's the reason why it's at times acts up. So save and close this. And we're going to say, what is the order status on 1003? Now, because it connects to Syntactic Store, so this is 1004, by the way. 1003 is an old order, you won't find it. And so come back, it says, I can't, could you please provide me? I am looking for order 1004 with email demo@agentman.ai. Okay. So it'll connect to this particular store, retrieve that information, and this is what I had purchased. Okay, and so go ahead and try it. These two, fetch product detail, fetch order details, and get current date time.
And Prasad, each time I create a task, I have to go and deploy it, or it's an auto deploy?
So once you save it, it is available for testing, right? But let's say you today it's auto deploy. Okay, that means if let's say you're using this agent on a website, the next time somebody talks to the agent, it will be a new version of the agent when you save it. But in the future, for higher paid plans, we will offer what are called versioning. So you can deploy version 1 agent, use it out there, and you can create a version 2 agent, use it in different context. So this way you can manage the versions.
Okay, and when you deploy it, it goes on the cloud somewhere?
Yeah, it's running on our cloud. So our entire agent operating system, right? That's where the agent is hosted. So you're calling APIs to interact with that agent. So remember in this example, we saw in the demo here, where is that here, right? So this little one, this is actually talking to our cloud and talking to the specific agent that we saw, the Skintastic agent.
Okay, and then do you support like multi-region agents? Like if I am coming from PST or West Coast, and so your agent will be close to that, or do you have like multi-region support where you have agents in multiple regions, depending upon the traffic where I am expecting my clients to come on this site and do all these queries?
So can you repeat that question?
Yeah, I will repeat myself. So For example, say I have customer which is like focused or located mostly on the West Coast and East Coast. So
Mhm.
now when a customer comes and starts using this Shopify agent, they go on this chat and they try to go and ask all those product details, order details, and everything. So now to avoid all those latencies and everything, do we have a support which is like agent will be spun up on the West Coast to make
So
sure all the agents? Mhm.
yeah, so the time zone, right?
Yeah,
We talked
correct.
about that. So when you initialize the agent here, so when you initialize an agent on the app here, right? For example, where is that tab? Okay, there's so many tabs here. When you initialize the agent, this browser, let's say, is a user sitting in New York,
Yeah.
right? When they bring it up, we know the time zone. In the browser, you can look up the time zone. So you can feed that to the agent on startup as an input. You say, hey, this is my hello. You can feed that, and then the agent will have the context of the time zone. In fact, you can feed the language, you can feed the time zone as the first hello. And that end users will not see it. If you use our chat client, the end users will not see the very first hello message that you initiate when to wake the agent up. And we can talk about that offline, how to do it. But that's how you would do. You would basically send out the time zone, the language of the browser, etc. So the agent doesn't matter where it's running, it will interact as if it's sitting in New York and answering questions.
Okay, but when I make an actual call, where exactly it goes on the cloud? It goes on your.
On our cloud. So we run in the US cloud servers. So on one of the platforms, we currently are hosted on Google Cloud, but in the future we offer a private instance to be running in if it's larger customers on a VPN on Amazon. So
Okay.
yeah. But for smaller clients, it doesn't matter to them as long as it works, right? So
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it takes care of the latency. Then if it is good, yeah, it doesn't
yeah.
matter. Yeah, thanks, Prasad.
So now, tell me any issues so far? Are you guys been having able to connect to the Shopify store and perform this operation?
I'm still on the daytime because I'm having trouble changing it for some reason.
Let me just quickly show it to you again. So
Yeah.
we tried we're trying hard to improve the user interface here. I'm not super happy about it. So there's a little edit button when you click.
Yeah.
And then you can replace it from the README if you have trouble, right? Because the Dugent instructions are not perfect here. And then replace it and you save it. That's not enough. You have to save in the top right corner. You're saving
Yeah.
locally, but you have to do the double save. Okay.
Well, that's what I did, and I even used Dugent to make sure that it only provided for Paris, France. But every time it keeps asking me, what's the to provide you with the current time, could you please let me know your time zone and or location? But
Okay.
but it is specified
Can you show
that the
me?
times.
Can you show
Yeah.
me the screen?
Yes.
So it could very well be a bug in our cloud account in the cloud function that we have, get current date time function. It's that it's not accepting any time zone.
Can you see it now?
No, I don't.
Oh.
So,
Let me try again. I'm gonna. Okay, resume presenting.
mhm.
Okay, I'm here. So I've got the tool.
Can you turn on calls? Yeah.
Calls.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, well, I'll just refresh. What time is it? It's not calling any tool.
Okay, why don't you, and I'm here to help with all detailed issues. If you need current time, please let me know your time zone. So can you look at the tasks? Did you create a task for current date and time? Yeah, I think it'll helpful if you can create a task. right? To manually or through Dugent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and then connect the task to um, the
that
tool.
provides the current time zone in Paris, France.
You may want to also say which tool to use. So
Oh,
yeah, it automatically did that for you. So you just apply.
okay.
And it did that because it has the context. So if you scroll back, you use Dugent to create datetime, right? So it knows that you have used the tool, so it connected it.
Okay, I guess
Now you
I
say,
guess I have a I guess I need a better understanding of the difference between tools and task. I guess tools is like the generic thing and task is more specific. Because
so think
yeah,
about like, right? So let's say you need to switch, you need to change a light bulb, right? The
yeah,
or fix the toilet, right?
yeah.
The instructions would be go study the toilet, see what is broken in the toilet, flush the toilet, and so on, and then go fetch the tool, fetch a new, a plunger, or I would say a float. There will be instructions, and then the other instruction now remove the toilet tank top. Oh, by the way, go get a wrench and use the wrench to start turning it. The wrench is a tool. All the steps
Okay.
that as well were the tasks. So the task itself is not sufficient if you don't have the tool.
So the tasks are the instructions and the tools are the thing that make the instructions possible.
That is it.
Okay. Okay, and so I have to explicitly link a task to a tool for in order for the task to call the correct tool when I use it.
Exactly. And by the way, you hit upon a really important point. You'll see the agents everywhere. Agents, you hear the word hallucination. Hallucination means they don't know what to do or they do the wrong thing, right? Because
Yes.
the current generation of language models are not very good at connecting instructions with tools. And we solve that by saying specifically call the tool, like giving it the tool name.
Okay.
So when doing that, then it knows which tool to use. It's like I have a bunch of wrenches or in my toolkit. Some wrenches are good for one, some are not. But if you don't specify which one, you end up using the wrong one and you probably mess up your screws in the process, right?
Yes, it still doesn't work, but I think that with
It's
some
a time zone.
troubleshooting, I will find a
Just
way
say,
around.
no, why don't you give it Paris?
Sorry?
Say Paris. Oh, by the way, you didn't save. You see on the top right, you didn't save it.
Ah, here you go. So, because it should only be Paris, I said Paris.
Okay.
And if not, I will ask in for Paris. Okay, in Paris.
So it called the tool, but
Yeah.
it came, what time is it? Is the time correct? So, by the way,
No.
Okay, so the tool that we built that you're using is hard coded to the time zone. I'll revise it and update. Okay.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay. So, but it did send the right time zone. I think we'll fix it for you.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Anybody tried out the fetch order details?
I tried the daytime. Prasad, can I show my screen? Can I share my screen with you?
Yeah. So while you're reading it, anybody has tried fetch order details, real tool, was able to actually see the data? Okay.
Prasad, can you guide me? How should I share my screen here?
Okay, sorry, hold on, Shay. I think I may have to make you a co-host here.
Okay.
Go ahead. Now try.
So I click on the three buttons and then share it.
You see on the bottom, there's a toolbar. There's an arrow that looks like this, like a TV screen with a little arrow that goes up.
Yeah. So this is my task, which I created by Dugent. So this is what it created, and then it picked up my tool call here.
Yeah.
This is my tool here. Get current date and time.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions. This tool calls I have to make it enable because this was disabled by default.
That's fine. No. So that is just for your debugging purposes.
Okay.
You don't see it if you put this agent on a website, you won't have that option.
Okay.
That's for building. In building, you want to know which tool is called, whether it's called or not, what are the arguments, what is the response. All of that is meant to, that switch is there to show you, hey, this tool was called, the tool came back with this response, current date time, and that was then in turn sent to the language model, which translated that little text into a English-like response. If you keep going, right, it says the current date and time in LA is January 30th.
Yeah.
That language model. If you remember the sequence diagram I showed earlier, I said the tool response is sent back to the language model, which then translates it into a meaningful form.
Yeah, human format. Okay, makes sense. Okay.
So if you've seen let me share you my screen.
Yeah, sure.
And you will see what I mean. Remember the Aura agent that I was giving you a demo of? Let me show you what the tool call looks like on that thing. Right, so this is my Aura agent. This is the translation, right? If I select this, the tool call, why is this? You see this? This is the amount of data the tool sent back, right? And extremely cryptic. Obviously, this doesn't mean anything to our humans, right? But language models, it's literally retrieving for every day of the week. It got back this data.
It seems to be vector embeddings, right? I think, yeah.
Yeah, and then use that information to create this
human readable format here.
Yeah. Now there's a bug here, that's why it's showing you blanks in our UI. So we'll figure it out. I fixed one bug last night, but not this one. But it's the showing you blanks there. Okay, so there's a question. Who has a question? Daniela, yes.
It's actually kind of like perhaps non-relevant, but just so you saw how in your Aura Ring information you had the dates like January 31st, etc. Do you think it will be like possible to, instead of getting like month, date, and for example, if you were taking your temperature, to have it like or have it written in a way where you could later on use it to graph it?
Well, I mean, I think the question you're asking is, can I take the data and turn it into a chart?
I guess, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you can. You need another tool, like a chart generator tool, right? You basically send it like there are a number of chart generating tools out there. You can send the data to it. You get the data from Aura, send it to it, right? And then it'll generate a chart and return it back. And then you display it as an image, as another way to do it. So that's how you would build an interface like that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Or you just create one tool that retrieves the data, generates a chart, and returns it to the language model as an image. Hey, Lorenzo. Oh, okay. All right. So in 2 minutes, we're going to start. Let me, if you have questions, if you have any trouble getting any, you should have at least tried one of the tools. Okay. If can you, people raise your hand if you tried fetch product details and got it working? Get order details. Okay. So
I have, but I don't know what to ask.
okay. Order number is 1004, and the email address is demo at, may add it here. Order ID to test is 1004, and email when prompted is demo at agentman.ai. Okay. So, and by the way, you can go and remove the instructions saying don't ask for email. Work.
Yeah.
So, but use this because your function is expecting, your tool is expecting this too. So use that. And
Okay.
right.
Okay. Cool. Thanks. So it doesn't work, but that's because I made a little change to another tool for fun, but it should work. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, so let's keep going on. So we have a schedule to keep. So let's so we talked. So how do we connect to Zapier? Okay. So how do we connect to 7,000 apps, right? So this bold claim about, hey, look, with Agentman, you can connect to 7,000 apps. So how do you do it, right? So the way to do it is there's a product called Zapier. So most people, I'm hoping you know what Zapier is. If not, it's easy to sign up, right? So in fact, I'm going to go log into my Zapier account. It's free, right? So, and Zapier allows you to connect to all the applications you use on a daily basis, right? So here, for example, I have a Zap called Agentman Early Access Leads app. So if you have gone to Agentman as of until this morning, there was an agent that when you clicked here, it would take you to a chat window where it would ask you questions and actually go capture, hey, you interested in early access, we'll give it to you, and populates a spreadsheet. That's an agent that we built, okay? And using Agentman, right? In fact, the agent that you see here in the bottom right corner is also an agent that was built using Agentman, right? So it answers questions, what agent is, etc. Right? So now when you click here, it directly goes to registration. So we just changed that this morning. Okay, so how does it work, right? So the way we do is let me come and show you our Agentman agent. This is that agent.
I think Prasad, we can't see your screen. We're just seeing like you're connecting to 7,000 plus.
Oh, good call. Thanks, man. I think I will start all over there. And if you don't share the entire screen, that's what you see. Okay, perfect. Okay, now let me start over. Okay, let me log out. If I can find my logout screen now. Here's logout home. Okay, let me start all over. So Zapier.com is a product that lets you connect to 7,000 applications very easily without coding. Okay, so I have set up an account. It's free for a certain number of usage per month. So I've already set it up. So I'm going to log in here, and I created a. Did you guys see this? So if you had come earlier to Agentman, you would have seen a button here which would lead to Agentman early chat. So in fact, if you see here, if I can find it, you can see early access chat. I think that was the URL. If you clicked on it, it would come here, right? And it would ask you questions saying, hey, do you want to sign up for it? And so on. It's like a lead generation form, right? So you go through the conversation. At the end of it, it would say, thank you. We'll be in touch with you. Now, all that information that you provide, including name, email, etc., ended up here in the spreadsheet. as this, okay, in this form. And that spreadsheet is how we have people sign up for beta access, right? So when we sent out emails inviting people. This morning, we replaced that button, this chat, with a simple registration link. You go to click here to go to register. So let's look at how that agent was built, okay? Now, this is the agent that you looked at, right? In here, we have a task called collect info for early access, okay? So what does it do? Prompt the user with the question, what best describes you? Remember, you saw that in here. If I do early access again, it starts by saying, what best describes you? And I say, I'm an entrepreneur. Then it asks me the next question, saying, what do you want to do? You want to build agents? I want to build agents. And goes through this back and forth. Right, in the question and answer, you've probably seen this kind of form filling agents. It's a form filling agent, right? So how is that built? So if you close this one here. So the first question is asked for what's your background? What do you want interested in? What's your industry? And every time you're storing it in a variable, right? You're basically asking all these questions and storing that information. And finally ask for the name, work email, LinkedIn URL, and optionally the company name, right? And then I summarize it, present summary of the collected information here for the user to confirm, right? Ask the user to confirm all the details. If confirmed, proceed to next step. The next step, it calls this tool to save this information in that spreadsheet. Now, how do I connect my agent to a spreadsheet? Is using Zapier. Zapier is acting as a bridge. So let's look at this tool called Submit Early Access. You will see in here, there is an API which calls into Zapier. Now, how did I get this API from Zapier? And by the way, this is calling this tool by sending all the information I've collected, right? It is calling this particular tool because I set up in Zapier, you can actually register, set up a whole hook, right? You can say, come here and click on it here, and then say, as a next step, configure a Google Sheet. It'll let you log into your Google account, select a Google Sheet, which has all the field columns, etc., which you're going to send over. It takes a little bit of work, right? Usually this part is the one took us about like an hour to set up. Once we got that part working, it's just sending in the data, right? And every time the agent completes and calls that hook, this is the hook we got from here. We copy that hook and pop it into here. And I can ask Dujen to create this for me, and it'll create it, right? And that's it. And now you've got your agent talking to Zapier. Okay.
So Prasad, you're doing it user by user, or you're doing it like a batch API call and putting like 10,000 details of the users at one shot into the CSV?
No, it's every time I just submit for one
Okay.
user, it goes in there, right? There's no batching.
Okay.
So what Zapier does is it gets the information here,
Mhm.
right? And then it gets think of it as one request with all the information, one submission, and send it to the spreadsheet. So it fills out one row at a time at the bottom.
Yeah, it's per user. Okay, got it. Yeah, thanks.
Now you can build zaps for all kinds of things, right? So here is a zap for DocuSign. So we have an agent on our website. In fact, you should try it. It is a rental application agent. If you live preview, it has a series of questions. You can search for fake properties and you can fill out a rental application, last 10 questions. At the end of it, it actually sends you via email a DocuSign contract to sign.
Wow.
Okay. And how do we do it? We signed up for DocuSign, created a contract there, created fields for it, and then connected that in here, right? We basically create a hook, which is called that API, and it populates that particular form, right? The name, email, property address, monthly rent, move-in date, applicant name, email, all these things, right? So you get a complete, in fact, let me see if I can pull up my DocuSign. Let's say here, that was one test document here. So this is what got created in one of my tests. You're not really submitting a rental application. You can, oh, it's expired. So you'll basically get a rental application test document to sign. Okay. And it shows you it's all expired links. But they have a certain window before you have to access it. So that's how you connect your agent to 7,000 applications, because Zapier makes it possible, very easy to set this up. Okay. So we talked about configuring a webhooks app. You'll have to learn. Zapier has a lot of tutorials on how to do that, and copy the webhook or the API. Webhook is another name for an API, along with input and create HTTP tool. Create the task instructions to call HTTP tool. Okay. So let me, if you want to do this at home, right? So we have rental application agent with DocuSign. The agent, you can download this into your hard drive. Come back here. You see the upload agent. You can pick that agent file and it will bring it in. Okay. Now you will have all the instructions set up, everything, including the tools. You just have to replace your zaps, right? Otherwise, it'll go into our account, and then you will be able to have a rental application agent, right? So in the workshop folder, you have rental application agent. You have a sales agent that answers sales questions and serves up things. This is a fun agent I call sketch agent, which doodles and draws things. So if you go to agentman.ai, I think it's not here. I don't think we have it deployed here, but it's in my account. You can bring it in. It draws for you. You can tell, draw me a cat. It will draw a cat. Right? And also you have the e-commerce agent as well. The entire 10 instructions e-commerce agent as well. Okay. So, and then there's also a fifth one called a classifier, called a process agent for classifying products, etc. There. Any questions on this?
Prasad, for the, sorry, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, for the, this particular drive that you just showed, where is the link for that? I couldn't find it in the README.
Okay. I should put in the README too. I'll put it, hold on. Like a copy, share, copy link. I had shared it earlier, I think before I joined, maybe. So workshop, link to drive, right there. Should be there.
Thank you.
Oh, good question. So going back here, so sales lead qualification agent plus Google Sheets, right? Is an SDR agent. Job application agent with Google Sheet. There's another. You can build one. We don't have one. Or a customer feedback. So it's just so many different permutations and combinations of agents and zaps you can do, right? So you can pretty much imagine anything impossible. Okay. So the next topic, what we don't have, so we're going to talk about what is called RAG. That is, if you have a knowledge base on which you want to answer questions. Okay. So how do you build that? If you don't have what is called, let's say you have 1,000 documents and you want to answer questions, we don't have support for it in our product yet, right? Because building out a knowledge-based infrastructure is a complicated undertaking and is specific to each customer. So we are trying to generalize it, and it's never works for one solution doesn't work for all. So what we've done is we are taking a very simplistic approach to it. We start with what is called a cheap RAG. Okay, a cheap RAG means a poor man's RAG. Because at the end of the day, you want to quickly build something, a poor man's RAG. And I'll show you an example of what a poor man's RAG looks like. So let's go to our agents here. We have, you see this Perlay agent, Agentman's, right? So if you go to agentman.ai and ask questions like, what are agents right? What agents does Agentman offer? So on websites, you only want to provide X questions, right? So you don't want to answer, the whole world's problems. You just have maybe, 50 questions you want to answer. So that's a sales agent. You just want to limit questions specific to your website, etc. So if you want to build this kind of an agent, it's very easy, right? You curate those FAQs, bring those FAQs into your agent, right? And make it part of a task. You can just give it, whenever somebody asks a question, here are the FAQs to use. You drop it in here and this becomes your knowledge, right? This is one way you can make it happen. But our next iteration, you will see, we'll actually allow you to enter a URL and it'll go bring the data and then ingest it, right? So Lorenzo, you had your hands up. Oh, you were just clapping. Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, I just said congrats.
So we call it cheap rag, right? So no, this is what I'm going to say, right? This is Nitesh. You have your hands up.
Yeah. Just one question I want to ask. So, we're talking about RAG, and basically, so you gave a very elaborative demo of the agents. So, all of this is in English. So, if I want to build in a multilingual agent, so do I just change the goal or the additional instructions, or to make it multilingual?
Yeah, so definitely you have to specify, hey, you're going to be an agent that handles all these languages, but the agent doesn't know which language to respond in, right?
Okay.
In runtime, because you could be in Paris accessing it, you could be in Spain accessing it, or in the US, depending on where the user is coming from. So what you would do is when you initialize the agent from your browser, in your developer, you can send, as part of the initial instructions, you'll see in our API, right? Where, in fact, let me see if I can find the documentation. So GitHub, and back here, right? So API and agent integration. Since you're asking, I'm going to show it. So this is different. Let's see. I'm trying to here. Right? Let's look at the chat widget. Let's say you're using our chat widget.
Mm-hmm.
You can pass a hello message with it, right? So I'm trying to find, where is it? Example. I'll get to, if I find it, I'll say it. But basically the idea is simple, right? So here, this is an example here, where you initialize the agent and you can pass a hello message to it. Initial message. You see this?
Yeah.
In this hello, you can specify what is the time zone and what is the current time and date from the browser. You can grab from the browser and send it, right? And also language in there, and say, hey, look, use this language. So, and then in your goal, you can say in the initial message, you will get the date and time and the language. Use that to always answer in that language.
Okay, got it. So that will be fixing a particular language, right?
For
But
that conversation.
For that conversation, right? But if let's say I started typing in English, and after some point of time I wanted to change the language to some maybe my local regional, any regional language.
Sure.
So will this agent will assist with that, or I have to reinitiate the chat and first configure that language and then reinitiate the chat?
So I was talking English, then I said hola, which is Spanish, right? Responded in Spanish to me.
Okay.
And by the way, I don't have any special instructions in the agent. It just does it.
Got it. So just need to add the languages that has supported.
Yeah, exactly. And you should test it out because we use OpenAI's GPT-4o models, which supports, I think, the 40 different languages, something like that.
Got it. So I'll be trying these things out in the morning. So I'll try with creating a customer support agent maybe.
So we saw cheap rack, right? In fact, one of the attendees here did is something interesting, is that I showed you that we can include it in tasks. They actually create a variable and stored the content in a variable and reference that variable throughout the task. That's another way to think about it, right? So now, if you have a lot of documents and you want to look up those, you create your own RAG infrastructure and create an API for it and use it as a tool. So whenever somebody asks a question, you say, hey, call this tool to get the answers. And those answers will then be, that answers will contain a short list of answers, which you then send it to the language model in the tool. It will pick the right answer and respond. Okay, so that's how you integrate RAG into an agent. Okay, so how do you share an agent? Just like at YouTube, you can basically click, and in fact, I would encourage you to click this link and send this out to your friends or whoever it is. Here is the first agent that I built, right? And start to get feedback from it, and so on, iterate, and so on. So I can see it's only running within our application, so it's not ready to be deployed in your, it's not something you want to deploy or share this with your customers, right? You want to make it part of this, right? So this is where you go. This is where you do deploy. Okay. So how do you deploy an agent? Okay. So each agent has an agent token. It's uniquely identifying what the agent's, who the agent is, and it's a long cryptic number, right? Alphanumeric number, which you take that and use that in here. So this is an example code that, let's say you want to use our chat widget. This is HTML code where you would initialize the token here, and this is the URL, and then put it on your website and start working, right, with your agent. And if you, this is where developer is needed, but eventually we want to make this even easier so that you can install it. Let's say you're running a WordPress website, you should be able to install a plugin. If you're on a Shopify store, you should install it with one click, and so on.
Prasad, is this a GitHub private repo, or this is publicly exposed?
Right. So it's if you search on Agentman AI, you should. I think if it's not, and I'll put this in the README as well here. I think it's probably here. GitHub repo for chat agent client. It's the one, and the 3 years that you have. Okay, so you should find these links. Okay, and you'll find documentation on the website and how to use this, etc.
Okay. One question on this real life scenario, for example, say if I want to go on Zillow.com.
Sorry, you.
And I want to deploy this agent on Zillow.com. So now I have, I have, for example, say a Zillow.com rental site, Prasad, and I want this agent which you're showing me right now. Just for example, this is a rental agent, and you have access token in the link. So now, how can I go and hook up that that agent with Zillow.com, assuming it belongs to me and it's my domain, and I control it, and I'm the owner of that domain?
Yeah. So here, how did we deploy it, right? So on this web page, we installed that Java widget. Okay. And if you look at the GitHub repo, they have documentation on how to implement that widget and how to include it. And then once you drop 2 or 3 lines of JavaScript code, it activates.
Yeah, I assume it's the same for like if you use platforms like Wix, they have their own widgets, and you just have to fill in the information that is provided here.
Yeah, exactly. So here, back here, I think it's I should have done this right. So here, let me pull that up. And there's a README. And let me put this in the documentation so that you all can see it properly. And I'll walk you through the documentation 1 second. So, okay, let's look at the documentation, right? So what do you have? You get the token here and put that in here in the JavaScript, right? You import the JavaScript widget from this Agentman widget. You do npm install and you get Java widget. And then you specify the URL as specified in the documentation, you have that. And then you can ask it where to show. You can ask it to show in the corner or in the center. Inline is not yet supported. If you say corner or centered, in the center means center of the screen, shows up as one large widget. In the corner, it shows up on the side. Right. So if you earlier I had shown you early access chat. This is a centered widget. Okay. And this one on the side is a corner widget. And then you can specify what is the title that you want to show when you activate it. You ask me anything is the one that shows an inbox, right? You can customize what this toggle text looks like. Instead of saying ask Agentman, you can make it anything. You can change the color. You can change the logo. You can change the background of this, the icons, right? And a bunch of other options. Okay, and here are all the examples. So, but if you don't, it automatically defaults to, Agentman icon, Agentman text, etc. And we encourage you, we tell you clearly that what kind of icons you want to use, where, etc. So that format should be a PNG or an SVG and so on. Okay, so that you got 5 minutes. So I want to finish up. Right. So integrate with Shopify. Let us know the web client. Right. So you can see here the links in there. Build your own client. This is the APIs to build your own client. I think one of our users is building a client for mobile app. So they'll embed this agent in a mobile app. We don't have mobile code to give you, but you can build your own. But this is how you do it. You pass the token in the API. You have to, for every time you start a new conversation, you have to give a conversation ID. That's how it remembers what the user is saying, etc. Right? That ID is any kind of identifier. It doesn't matter. What we recommend is use a GUID, which is a cryptic 64-bit or whatever long string. So it's always unique. You generate it once, and as long as you use the same ID, it's the same conversation you're having. You see this user input? That's what you're sending, right? Back and forth. The user said this, user said this, and you get a response back. Okay. The user input on the very first request could be, hello, I'm in so-and-so time zone. This is my time. Use this information to, respond. Could be just that, right? That's like the hello message. And that will initialize the agent. Okay. And this is the response you get back. You get response in 3 different forms. If the language model responding to you, it's of type AI. We also piggyback, I would say, bounce back the user message. If the user sent a message, that comes back to you as well as a human. If a call is being made, it comes back as a tool. Okay, so this way you know what each other's messages are. So when you're writing your own client, you'll have to browse those. Okay. So lastly, there's some best practices here. I would encourage you to read it, but you have tried it, all those things, and so on. I think one of the questions was agents calling other agents. One way you do that is by using that API to create an agent, call an agent. So you can use the same API that I showed here, make it a tool. Right. So one way is that, hey, at the end of a conversation, I want to call this other agent, which classifies it, summarizes it, and writes into HubSpot, let's say, right? And we have that agent in here in our product. So in fact, the other agent we have is called CRM Ticket Creator Flow agent, which does a bunch of things. It categorizes it, summarizes it, creates contact in HubSpot, creates support ticket, and returns a response. That's an agent. You could turn this into an API and then call it at the end of a conversation. Okay. That's the one way you can create agent-to-agent interaction. So what's coming next? We'll be launching plans. You'll have a free plan so you can build your agents, continue to build your agents with restricted agent credits, but it's for home use. It's very good. If you want to build agents for yourself, Agent Builder, we have team plans starting at 99 for 3 users, and then you can add more at $25 per user per month. You get 100,000 agent credits. That means you can. The rough translation is maybe about 300 conversations you can have in a month, and then you can buy extra credits, make it happen. And if you're a solution integrator or a partner, reach out to us and we will figure out how best to equip you, because not every one of your accounts is going to deploy it. We have multi-tenancy built where you can have multiple clients have their own accounts, so you can manage multiple tenants and multiple agents. Okay. That's on plans. We're going to introduce agent security, where today, when you deploy agents, we have to whitelist your domain in order for them to work. But in the future, we'll roll out security where you get security tokens, where you have to pass the token with the agent for it to work. Otherwise, anybody will be able to call your agent. And again, easy to edit HTTP tools, easy to use RAG, are some of the capabilities. We're going to offer automated agent testing. So you build an agent, you say, hey, go test all the possible scenarios for me, and a number of other things we have in plan. Okay. So finish up. I'll go back to my first screen or the second screen. I'm going to take this survey form and I want to use this few minutes to, it's only 4 questions, so please fill out the survey form.
Oh, Prasad, can you also share your Drive link where you showed the rental agent? I think where
Sure,
you can go and file into the agent here.
Yeah, I'll do that again. So,
Yeah,
copy link. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you guys learned a little bit, built your first agent or maybe first agent on our platform. And hopefully you'll continue to build more of these agents and have good ideas. And if you want to partner with us in creating agents to launch our agent store, let us know. We were looking for the to be able to build out and launch on our agent store. So we have 3 agents here. Many agents we have built, we have not deployed it, but happy to build more and more agents and make this available. Our goal is to turn this into a platform where you can make passive income, where you will be able to build an agent on here. There will be a tab called Publish to the Store. You click on it, it generates the entire marketing page for you. You specify a price and it's done. One-click publishing, where it's highly optimized. In fact, each of these pages have been generated using one of our agents, including this entire simulation flow, which took the agent instructions and created it back and forth. Okay, so so you don't have to create this rendered page, etc. People can try out the agent, will be able to buy this agent, and so on. So we will, as we scale up, that's where you can monetize your agents. Okay. Cool. And lastly, by the way, if anybody you know has missed the class, we're going to have one on Sunday, 2 weeks from now, on February 9th. There are a number of people who can't make weekday classes, so we decided to do one on Sunday. I think the first few are free. After that, there's a small fee. So please feel free to share this, folks.
Now, is that different from the 2 months free Agentman, or is that
This is different. So if you a number of you got this class for free, so unfortunately you won't be giving the 2 months. So it's for people who are paid the full price.
That makes sense.
So, but this one is such a small fee that figure out. Maybe you'll get some merchandise with Agentman hat on it. We're getting some nice merchandise. But
oh yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. All right. Have a great day and have a great weekend. And you have my email, prasad@agentman.ai. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If you're starting to build agents and you have need help, we are here to help as well.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Prasad.
much, Prasad.
Very well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really
Thank you. All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Prasad, one last question. You said we can help you to make the agents, right?
Sorry. Is that you, Tej, who said Prasad? Somebody called me out. Is that you?